Here are some of the papers we've got for you this morning. Nigerian Tribune, Borno bombing, death toll now 32. The big efforts in combating terrorism. Southern senators tell FG we shall seek justice for the victims bereaved. Northern senators. Well, this Nigeria also following the same theme. Borno suicide bombings. It's a pathetic scene, says VP Shatima. Death toll hit 32 as Southern senators lament attacks. Black Monday for Kano, Kaduna, as 25 die, 53 injured in road crash. That's what you also see on the front page here today, this morning. Daily Independent, Borno bomb attacks. Fight against terrorism must be total, uncompromising, ascribed to the ACF. So they also following through with that particular story, making the rounds here this morning. Daily Trust, how 25 people died, 127 got injured in Kano road crashes. Nigerian News Direct, FG terminates road contract over alleged non-performance. So Ministry of Works also with that one there. Well, look at blueprint. INEC proposes 142 recommendations for improved electoral process. Well, back on the beat again. To intensify engagement with NAS on electoral reform, says Anambra Guba holds 2025. Ekiti, Oshun 2026. FCT polls 2. So timetable for some polls right there, just in case you want to follow up with that one. You just might. Daily Times, INEC has no power to conduct LG election, ascribed to Yakubu. Says unless necessary constitutional amendments are made, INEC will only continue to organize national state elections. Commission proposes 142 recommendations to improve electoral process. So those are part of the riders for that big lead on the front page here today. The Guardian newspaper, legacy debts among operators stifle telecom sector service delivery. The Guardian still reports this morning. Vanguard newspaper focuses on economic crisis. Slump in port operations put 40,000 jobs at risk, ascribed to their investigation. And beneath that, SDGs, 63% of Nigerians still wallow in poverty, ascribed to Tinubu's aid. So you may also want to see that right there here today. Business Day, CBN reforms drive investment inflows to 4-year high. Capital triples to $3.4 billion in 1 year. Anambra, Ogun, Kaduna, others record no investment. So they might want to ask themselves, why is that the case? So that's Business Day.
So those are the papers that we have this morning, and I'm going to start with the Daily Trust newspaper just so we can take a look at some of the headlines today. 25 people, how 25 people died, 127 got injured in Kano road crashes. This is actually a very serious one. 25 victims are still unconscious. Animals were killed, 120 goats were killed, according to the Daily Trust newspaper. And residents are blaming enforcement officers, and more on that from page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper today. It's the rains. Of course, we're going to be hearing a lot of accidents around this time of year, and it's unfortunate, but everyone has to learn to be a little bit more careful. It's raining right now. It's drizzling right now in the nation's capital, and you would see people just driving really recklessly under the rain. I know your car is really nice. Most of you drive Prados in the FCT here. We get it. But please be careful. Don't put other people's lives in danger. Not everyone's car is as nice as yours. Not everyone's brakes are as good as yours. It reminds me really of an ad that the FRSC used to have many years ago. Drive as though your family is in the other car. That was what that ad used to say. Imagine that your family is in the car next to you. That should inform how you drive. Take it very easy. There's nothing that will end. If your life is ended, the world will keep going. If it's that office you were running to, they would have a moment of silence for you, and everybody will keep it moving. So please be a little bit more careful. Don't get yourself into any trouble. And this unfortunate situation here from Kano State, they're talking about how it happened. More on that from page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And of course, a lot of roads in the news. We're also seeing a lot of the Federal Ministry of Works has its public service announcement. And we're seeing it in multiple papers. The Daily Trust has it. We're seeing it on the Leadership newspaper as well. So let's take it from the Leadership this morning. This public service announcement is an invitation to stakeholders for an engagement on the Renewed Hope Legacy Road Infrastructure projects. So looking at particular roads, in Sokoto, the Badagry Superhighway, and then I think that's a 1,000 kilometer highway connecting Sokoto to Badagry. So that's being discussed there. The spur of Lagos, the Calabar Coastal Highway crossing Enugu, Abakaliki, Ogoja, Trans-Africa Highway from Cross River, Ebonyi, Benue, Kogi, Nasarawa, and Abuja. So that is being discussed as well. And then, of course, this Sokoto Badagry Superhighway. So there's a lot of engagements going on right now. Maybe get yourself a copy of the Leadership newspaper today. Find out which one concerns you, which one you're interested in, and then you can find out what the engagements are on those levels, Chamberlain.
You know, one thing that gives me huge concern, and I think a lot of people may resonate, this may resonate amongst a lot of people. Look at the front page of Vanguard newspaper this morning. Just beneath that lead story, which they talk about the economy. 63% of Nigerians still wallow in poverty. That's Captain Tinubu's aide. She was talking about our quest to meet up with the SDGs, and that's about 133 million. And you know that 130, we're not talking about 10, 15, 20, 133 million. Look, that's more than a country, more than countries in this world, this same world that we are in. Yes, she went ahead to give some of those breakdown, and how she did say that multidimensionally poor, by the way, so you understand all of that. 65% of poor people live in the north, while 35% live in the south. And this is something that, that report came up a long time ago. I know they bandy all kinds of figure, all kinds of data about whatever it is that they're doing in those states, but I don't know. I think that would be a drop in the ocean for a lot of things to happen. So this is, I don't know what other word to use to describe it that people have not used already in terms of the kind of challenges we're facing. Because as the year goes by, we're still rapidly increasing our population without thinking about all of those that are the population that is expanding. What facilities, what measures, what are we doing to engage and ensure that we address this concern? Because if you have, even if it's 100 million about idle hands, look, it's just a matter of time. Not to alarm anybody or sound alarmist, but if that's what's going to wake us all up, why not? Because the states...
You're not being an alarmist. You're not being an alarmist. You're telling the truth.
I don't know what,
for 63
happens
people,
in the states.
63% of people to be in poverty. How do you want to have security in such a place? How do you want to have good governance in such a place? Because everybody will be looking for what to eat.
Yeah.
Which means that votes will be bought. Rice and oil and Maggi and a few other things.
And that's why they say politicians weaponize poverty.
Yes. That means that you can weaponize this and get your way. That is a bigger problem. And then the insecurity. We keep talking about, we're talking about Goza right now. Everyone is talking about it. What feeds terrorism is poverty. That is where the house is. That is where they recruit from. That is what creates the situations that we have. And while we're busy talking about kinetic measures, the military has to do this, we need more security, there is the non-kinetic issue. And I've heard the Chief of Defense Staff, I've heard him talk about this before, where he said, look, while we are doing what we have to do, the non-kinetic measures have to be put in place, or we are just, you're winking in the dark.
And you know,
you're winking in the dark.
As if that's not enough. The paper there talks about the slump in port operations, putting 40,000 jobs at risk. Mm-hmm. And as though we don't have a lot of challenge already with the amount of poverty, and then 40,000 jobs in addition to what we face already.
So you're adding more people to the poverty net.
And that's not all. Even where you try and get more funds or more resources into some agencies, mismanagement and embezzling of those funds happen. So it just looks as though some people don't, it seems as if whatever else is happening, they're in the moon. Knowing that, look, yeah, you can get, even if you get all those funds, how do you ensure it's properly utilized? Because some states, as it currently stands, if they apply those resources properly, you'll get a lot of development in those states. And you get a lot of people occupied. But you know what they say about your guest being as good as mine. We'll focus on some of those things in just a moment, so don't go away.